Welcome to a special edition of A Superwoman Handbook. We are chatting today with Allison, all the way from Germany. And we wanted to do this episode special for today because we're going to be celebrating our 250th 4th of July. And I guess we can call that many other different ways, but we'll just call it 4th of July. But there has been so much like discussion about why are we, celebrating our anniversary. But when we think about 4th of July, we often, I think always, just think about our service members. We think about those over the last 250 years that have helped us be the land of the free and the home of the brave so we can eat hot dogs on the 4th of July and all that fun stuff. But we don't very often, I think, if ever, talk about the partners behind the service member and what those partners go through. They're very active in the service of their service member. And there's a lot that goes into that. And so Allison is going to share with us her personal experience from multiple, was it 2 decades as a service member partner and the journey that she's had all over the world, just like now in Germany. So I will leave it to Allison to share with us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so it is. I'm going to start with a little funny story for you. My husband and I have been together 20 years, and we got married on the 4th of July, which is comical if you think about it. We had a military wedding on the military holiday and like freedom and all the things. It wasn't supposed to be that day. It was just available. And in between my husband's training and my sister-in-law had just had a baby, so we needed to give her some time to recover. So my husband will never hopefully forget our anniversary. We used to say he always had the day off. However, life decides to throw wrenches in the system and, deployments happen and it's okay. But yes, I have been a military spouse for almost 20 years, which is crazy because I'm like 28. I don't know how that math happened, but we've been all over the world. This is our second time in Germany and we've lived many places in the States. I've learned a lot. I've lived a lot, and right now I'm just trying to explain to people in a more public way what military spouses go through, what we deal with, and the things that we keep inside, whether or not we are forced to, or we choose to, or we feel like we can't say them out loud. So yeah, it's a hard life. And speaking of the 4th of July, yes, it is always wonderful to have a hot dog and a beer on the 4th of July and be out on the lake and watch fireworks. And those are amazing. And I'm thankful for people like my husband that give us the ability to do that. But people definitely need to take a minute and realize how many spouses, whether they be male or female, it doesn't matter, are at home and we are grieving our spouse. They are missing birthdays. They are missing holidays. They're missing Christmas, those type of things. It's hard, and our children also have to deal with the same grief. And it's very difficult to push through this life. People keep saying, soldier on, suck it up, blah, blah, blah. It gets to a point where turns toxic. And we have to be able to admit that this is really hard. This is not something that's meant for everyone, but I just wanted open space to have those vulnerable conversations and allow spouses to say the thing, whatever that thing is.
Going through some notes and some possible questions that I might have for you when we were going to be chatting today, I started thinking about just the obvious things like contracts, agreements. When a service member goes into the military, there is a clear contract, a clear agreement, a clear understanding of this is what's cool, this is what's not cool. Here's what we're going to ask of you. You're not going to have to stand on your head with your, while using a tambourine. Like, kind of the boundaries, but the military partners, spouses don't get that. So, how do you adjust and understand and know kind of what the heck am I supposed to do?
I wish I had a really good answer for that question because it's a great question. It's 100% a great question. However, there's not an answer, sadly. I think the easiest way I can explain it is there are unwritten rules for spouses that you're expected to know, even though no one tells you. And so you are looking at context clues in the room. You're listening to hopefully what your soldier gives you information about, and hopefully they're correct. You have to just ask people around you. And yes, that's scary for some people. Be like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I will give a short story, and I write about this in my book that we'll talk about later. But when I was a newer military spouse, my husband came home and he said, there's a battalion change of command, and I want you to go. And I was like, what did you just say? Like I had, again, brand new baby spouse. And of course he laughed at me because he can. And I was like, I don't have a clue what to wear. And he was like, well, I don't know, just put on whatever. Are you new? Like, he clearly was new to having a wife, and clothes do matter, even if it's just for me and not for anybody else. So I definitely had to reach out to another spouse and be like, please forgive me for the naivete right now. Cause what am I wearing? And what am I what am I doing? And she was like, here's what you need to care about. Here's what you don't need to care about. So she helped me. She held my hand, if you will. And that was definitely, it made it easier. So there is always someone around that has been there longer. Even if it's just a year longer, that's fine, but maybe they can help. But we have to remember that we can ask for help and be like, hey, nudge, nudge. Don't make me Google this. What's expected of me? Am I in heels and a dress, or am I in jeans and tennis shoes? Like, what am I wearing? So, and that's always it's a frustrating part of being a military spouse, because our soldiers have this outfit for this and this outfit for this and this outfit for this. And we're supposed to find our way in between all of that. So it can be a challenge. It seems so trivial, but it is a thing. Because I don't want to make my husband look stupid, and I don't want to make myself look stupid. It's not just about him. Like, it is very much, we are a team, and I want to represent our team as best as we can. So things like that, you just have to ask. You have to ask.
Be vulnerable and ask for help. I think that's something that, whether you're a military spouse or not, I think it's hard for us
100%.
because it shows some weakness, which could then be a point that someone could, poke at later. So I can completely see that you'd have to have a lot of that as a military spouse, just for all the reasons, which kind of leads me to, let's go through a day in the life. So and let's say your husband's deployed, and so you need to navigate kids, grocery store, dogs. Maybe you're getting ready for a move to somewhere like Germany. How do you kind of just give us a pick a day in your life and walk us through?
My gosh. Would you like pre-move or post-move?
Let's do pre-move.
Okay. So this is easy for me to recall because it just happened a month ago. We were in Kansas. We were stationed at Fort Leavenworth for 4 years, which is unheard of for an officer family. Usually it's 2 and out. So we were very thankful that we were able to spend that long in one place. Our kids were able to be stable, and it was great. So before you move, especially, I'm going to use the term OCONUS. So I'm going to tell you what it means. It's outside of the continental United States.
Okay.
So it could be Alaska, it could be Hawaii, or any other country. So before you do that, you have to have orders, and you have to have passports, and you have to ship your vehicles, and you have to ship your pets, and you have to have movers, and you have to have loaders, and it's just a thing after thing after thing. However, and again, this is my situation, and I hope that no one else has to deal with it this way, because it was rough. But I had spine surgery shortly before we started this move process, which I had to get it in before we moved.
Mhm.
So that was my choice, but I absolutely had to have it. So I was in recovery mode. We were given 5 hours notice for the people that are shipping my personal vehicle to Germany. They gave us 5 hours notice from the time they were going to come pick it up, which is not traditional. We had to coordinate movers and packers and the airline with the flights, and it was just a very stressful situation. Super stressful. So yes, I had to have spinal surgery just a couple of weeks before our moving process started. It had to happen before we left the States, just for ease of travel. Now, again, that was a personal choice. I don't recommend having surgery right before you have to be on a 8 to 10 hour flight. That wasn't great. However, coordinating the packers was a job. And again, my husband was helping with all of this. So I'm not trying to say I did it all on my own, because he was 100% there and helping. So I just want to state that. But we had to have loaders for 3 days. We had to have organized cleaners, as carpet cleaners as well as house cleaners, because we were renting that home. So obviously we had to make sure that it was spotless. And I am someone who is absolutely not going to break my body and my back cleaning a baseboard. Absolutely not. I will give money to the professionals in 30 seconds and say, thank you so much for what you're doing, because I do not have the patience, nor do I have the body to be able to do that.
Mhm.
My back can't handle it. We had to coordinate our vehicle, my vehicle specifically. So within the military, they only ship one personal vehicle, no matter how many adults are in the home, which I don't understand. And I've always questioned, and nobody
Yeah.
seems to have a reason why. So my husband's vehicle was shipped through the military, and we paid a crazy amount of money to have my vehicle shipped from a private business. We're supposed to get at least a couple days notice whenever they are like, hey, we're ready to come pick it up. We had 5 hours notice. So they emailed and they were like, your truck will be here at 3 p.m. The car had not been detailed. The car had not been cleaned. The car had not been cleaned out, because there was nothing prior to that morning. So we were scrambling to get everything done that we had to do. It was hell. I'm not going to lie to you.
Mhm.
Then we ran into the issue of shipping our pets. So we have a 30-pound dog, and we have a roughly 12 to 13-pound cat. The airlines in the States are not shipping pets as much as they used to. American Airlines was the only one that would do it. Okay, fine. We do all the things. We have all the paperwork. We go to the vet within 10 days. We have all the kennels, we have all the food, we have all the things. And then we get to the cargo office the day that our pets fly, and they were like, your dog's kennel is too small. When he could go in, turn around, and lay
Yep.
down, that's usually the rule. And they were like, no, do you see this poster right here on the wall? And I was like, this, okay. So my husband, thank God he was there. He drove just a couple miles. He went and bought a brand new kennel so that they would ship our dog. In the meantime, because I am who I am and I like for people to help others, I guess, I scanned this poster because it had a QR code on it. I was like, maybe the information is going to be there because I had told the people, I've been on your website. And they're like, which one? And I stated it verbatim. And I was like, this one right here. And this information is not on your website. And they're like, but it is. And I was like, so I took my phone. I was like, do you see it? Because it's not there. It's like, would you please find it for me? And they're tippy tappy in, and I scan their QR code and it goes to an unavailable website. So for the people that are in a absolute chaotic time of their life, trying to move in an actual country with their fur babies that are children, because they are to me, why do we have to make it worse? So that was 36 hours before we were supposed to get on a plane to Germany, and we did not have a backup plan. So it's very, very, very stressful, especially when you're moving Oconus. Now, if you're moving within the United States, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's easier because you don't have to deal with flights and things like that. Now, again, there are many people that have so many problems when they're moving, let's say Washington to Georgia or whatever. But adding in a flight and shipping things on a boat, it adds a lot of stress. So yeah, that was one whole day. And mind you, it was a lot. So when you have weeks of that, the stress was up here. Thankfully, when we landed in Germany safely, all six of us, that includes the two pets, the stress level definitely decreased, which is wonderful because I was like, we're all safe. That's all we needed. We needed to be safe. We will figure it out on this end. You learn to be okay with the bare minimum of safety and, just to figure it out. If I don't have a great bed to sleep on, which is the one upstairs, then, we'll be okay. I have a roof over my head and my children are safe. So we learn to just go with the flow because it is absolute chaos.
And you talk about your children, and that kind of comes back to the original question. Like, as a spouse, you don't really get a contract, an agreement. You don't really fully know what you're getting into, but you still have a choice halfway. I mean, it's like, you're like, gosh, I love this person. But why they gotta be, if you don't want to be a military spouse, you're like, gosh, I love this person, but I don't want to be, like, but you still have a choice. Kids don't. They just arrive in the scenario. And how has that been for your kids?
It's been difficult. There have been great things and there have been terrible things. And they're 11 and 14, so they know what's going on. They don't know as much as every other adult because they don't have social media and they don't have access to Google. So we keep that away from them. They're not old enough to need that right now. So they know what we tell them in an age appropriate way. They know that currently their dad is deployed. We don't know where he is. So we don't have to worry about them telling somebody when they're not supposed to. Cause I'm like, "Ah." So it's definitely hard. I speak a lot on the fact that I have to be Switzerland. So I have my husband on one side and I no, I choose to support him. I love him. I choose to support or not support the mission. Right now I'm hating it because he's not here. And then on the other side, I have my kids. And so I have to help them with their emotions. I have to help them understand in age appropriate ways. And then I have my own emotions. Where am I turning? A lot of times I don't have anywhere to turn. So it's very, very difficult when you are trying to process your own emotions after your kids are in bed and you're crying in the shower or you walk out into the middle of the street because we live in a really small community here and you're just venting to your neighbor in the middle of the road because you're like, I have to talk to someone because this day has taken me out. But yeah, it's difficult, and those are the things that not many people want to talk about out loud. They're the conversations that have to be said. And this feeling and these emotions goes all across the board. Again, I'm a woman, so I'm going to speak for women. You're a mom, if you're a working mom, it doesn't matter if you're a stay-at-home mom. Moms feel these feelings constantly. The emotional labor, the invisible labor, all the things it's so hard and we have to say it out loud. That way we can normalize it because it's okay to say that it's hard. It's 100% okay. If people need permission today to not do the thing, I'm giving it to you. Please don't stress out about the fact that you waited 2 more days to do a load of laundry. It's okay. It's 100% okay. I chose to start getting groceries delivered while my husband was gone the last time because I could. And that means I didn't have to go to the store. That's fine. We still ate. I'm not judging, like, absolutely not. Do outsource those things. Get a cleaner once a month if you have to, ask somebody to walk your dog, whatever those things are. We as women need permission to put stuff down. We really do. My therapist that I used to see would teach me that glass balls and rubber balls. And she was like, "Not everything is a glass ball. My children are a glass ball. My husband is a glass ball. Vacuuming the floor every day is not a glass ball. That is a rubber ball and nobody cares." So it's very, I feel like that's a really good analogy to get people to understand, like, is this going to matter in 5 hours? If it's not, then it's okay. Give yourself permission to just let it go.
You're talking about working moms. How does it work to be a working spouse in the military? Because you mentioned the moving.
Having a full-time job outside of the home is very, very difficult. Now, there are some that are magical unicorns and they have had a career their entire spouse life, and that's wonderful. And I applaud them and I would hug them and ask them how they did it. It depends on what their career is, but the unemployment rate for military spouses is roughly 25%. It's really like the nation's average is, I think, 4 or 5. So we are really, really overeducated and underpaid or underemployed. So it's very difficult because civilian businesses specifically are like, "Oh, you're leaving in 2 years. I don't want to give you money for 2 years and have a great employee for 2 years. No, we're just going to skip over and take this person for that time that might be here forever." So we also don't get credit for lived experience. I have degrees. I have a master's degree. I haven't used it and I'm okay with that because that was what I was passionate about at the time. And now it's vastly different and we do not have to be locked into what our education was. I have learned so much about the nonprofit space. With my advocacy work, this is where I'm supposed to be. And the amount of things that I've done, the amount of connections that I've made and the dollars that I've been able to help raise is worth a lot of experience. And many military spouses don't get that respect. And that's really sad. But also on the flip side, if you are able to have a full-time job, childcare is another absolute crisis. Now, that is a global problem. It's not just a military spouse problem, but it is a very, very crucial issue here. Either there's no childcare available or it's not affordable or, the centers are closing or whatever the problems are, there are tons. So it's hard for military spouses to get a job because they're paying all their money that they get to childcare. It's like, do I raise my child myself every single day, or am I paying every dime that I make to not have somebody else raise them? Like that's a very hard choice. But some people choose to stay at home, and that's okay. But it definitely makes it hard financially.
Just about to say, does the military compensate you? Is there a weekly allowance you get for being a military spouse? We're sorry you have to pay to ship your own car and you can't even get a job. Here's a weekly allowance. Like if there were
I
things
would love that. Like I would absolutely. There would be so many spouses that would jump up and down and throw a parade if that was a thing. No, we don't. The misconception is we have free childcare, or excuse me, free healthcare and free housing and free this and free that. It's absolutely not free. Absolutely not. The money that our soldiers are given for housing, if you live on post like we do here, you don't see that money. Like they take all of it. Whether or not your home, your apartment, your condo, whatever you live in, is worth that much money, they take all of it. So you're not paying electricity and water and heat. You're not paying those bills specifically, but in, like, for instance, our case, the amount of money that my husband should be bringing home to pay rent and bills and things, we don't see it. And it's vastly over the amount of money that would be for a house that we live in. Yeah. So it's kind of a scam when housing went to privatized owning. So each installation has a company that runs the housing section, and it failed and it fell a lot. So I'm trying to be as nice as possible. But yeah, it's not great. It's not great. We're not asking to live in the Ritz-Carlton. Like absolutely not. But when you have repeated issues of molds, you have repeated issues of jet fuel in the water in some locations, you have repeated issues of bugs and my God, I have stories for days and they are in my book. They are definitely, everything is notated. I've coined a new term, Googleable. I don't know if it's really a word, but I'm making it one. But yeah, we're just asking for livable conditions, like respectable, livable conditions.
as you were talking and I was kind of thinking about your advocacy work, how I kind of wanted to get into that. I was like, girl, you like Aaron Brockovich coming in here with the jet fuel and the water and the mold. It's like,
That's funny.
well, kind of what is your advocacy? Kind of tell us a little bit about that and then how that connects with your book.
Okay. So I've always been someone who wants to connect people with resources, whether that be for food insecurity, whether that be for a spouse not knowing what she's doing, and she or he have been never been in a country before, whatever that is. It doesn't matter what it is. Maybe you need information on how you get a German driver's license.
Mhm.
It could be absolutely anything. I've always been that connector, that catalyst. It's like, hey, let's all band together and let's do this. Let's figure this stuff out. I started working for a nonprofit. Are you still there?
My god, she got bombed. She
Yeah,
got
my Wi-Fi went out. I love this. This is like
this is like, I mean, it's so funny. I do probably 14 recordings a week, and they'll just go completely flawless, but then I have ones like this where it's like Murphy's Law is all over it.
100%.
And so that's why I was like, when yours went out, I was like, "Oh, they got rated."
Don't say that. But this is so telling of the day that I've had. This is comical to me. Okay. I feel like I need to go open a bottle of wine because good Lord. This
I was
is,
just about to say it's late enough in the day for you. It's shamefully early for me. Not that I'm above it, but I was like, it's the perfect time of day for you.
oh my goodness. Okay. We were talking about advocacy.
Yes.
I have no idea what I said in the beginning. It's fine. I'll just make it up as I go because that's what I do anyway. So, as an advocate, I speak up for military spouses and families. And what that means to me is I'm trying to be a connector, a catalyst in the communities that I'm in, and maybe bigger than that, hopefully, to see what can we change? How can we help ourselves? Because there is no knight on a white horse that's coming in to save us. We have to save our own people. We have to link arms together and we have to make noise together so that we can get people's attention. I started working for a nonprofit about almost 2 years ago. The name is CASA, the Court Appointed Special Advocates. And in that position, I learned so much because that nonprofit helps abused and neglected children in the foster care system. And I was recruiting volunteers to help with those kiddos and be mentors to those children and things like that. And it really solidified the deep need in me to help others that can't speak for themselves, whether it's a child, whether it's a military spouse, whether it's a pet or an elderly person, it doesn't matter. I have always been someone who's going to say what other people in the room are thinking, but I'm just going to say it out loud. And hopefully in a non offensive way, because I'm not trying to offend people, but sometimes they get offended about silly stuff. But yeah, it's definitely speaking to my soul. It helps me fill my cup because I feel like being a military spouse, we are almost a colander because deployments and stress and resentment and all these things drill holes in us over and over and over again. But we have to find something that fills our cup and makes us feel good on the inside. And that's what this does for me. I've been able to share words that military spouses maybe they couldn't say it for themselves, or maybe they didn't know a term like resentment or, whatever their isolation that they're feeling. Maybe they don't know what that word really means, but they're like, oh my God, now I get it. And they can put that together, they can process it. So knowing that I have so many people that have reached out and they're like, thank you for finally saying that out loud. Like, and I'm just like, it melts my heart because I'm not the only one. And if there is a military spouse listening or a mom in general, you're not the only one. Like, absolutely not. Like, there are others that are suffering right alongside you. And it's okay to be like, hey, can I email you? Absolutely. I tell every single person that I talk to, my inbox is absolutely always open. I don't care if you're a military spouse or not. If you are someone who just needs somebody to vent to, cool. It's a no judgment zone. Absolutely not. Because if people don't have a safe space to land, times get dark. Times get very dark. I definitely have had dark times in our marriage and in this lifestyle. And it's not something I wish on anyone. So if we can have a safe space to say those things, and I mean, even if it's just you see it on social media and you share it, you're like, yep, that still makes you feel validated. It makes you feel seen. You're like, I said it. I'm just going to say it a little louder. But yeah, I am definitely that person. It's like, give me the microphone and back up because we're going to do this and we're going to do it loudly and unapologetically because it is been too many years/decades that military spouses have been made to be quiet.
And I love that you bring bravery along with true experience. I mean, so you're not talking about it in theory or you're not talking about it secondhand. You've lived it for 20 years. And, not only being a spouse, but supporting your partner and trying to support your kids and your family. You've got every angle that you've lived through. And that's where I feel like we have such an obligation to share that tuition paid experience with the others because there's no need for everyone to have to to relearn the same lesson or kind of rehash the same thing. So I love that you're doing that. And what is the name of your book? And where can people find more about you online if they're like, girl, I need to connect with her?
So my website, I'll say that first because you can find absolutely everything you need to know and probably way too much more on my website. So it is my name. So Allison Burton, two L's in Allison, not one, two. .co. And if you scroll down to the very bottom, my email is there, as well as my Facebook, my Instagram, and my TikTok. Also LinkedIn, if somebody wants to link with me over there. You no pressure to do any of that any of those things. But my book is called Silent Ranks, Loud Burdens. So for those that don't know, the military spouses have always been called the silent ranks because we, quote, stand behind the service member. However, I challenge that because in my marriage, I can't speak for anybody else's, but in my marriage, I don't stand behind my husband. I stand beside my husband. We link arms and we do this shit together. Like we absolutely have to do this together because if we don't, we're not going to make it. He can't do what he does and I can't do what I do without each other. So I definitely want to be the voice if I can. I'm going to be a voice, may not necessarily the voice, but this book is written in a very conversational tone, as if we're just having a conversation over a glass of wine or, a cup of coffee or whatever. I'm no literary genius. However, I have found a love of writing in doing this. So it's real, it's raw, it's a little bit unhinged, like myself. It's a little bit funny at times. However, it's also sad. There are moments because we hit all of those emotions, most likely all in one day, because that's what the military throws at us. But all of my information about my book is on my website. And there will be a Kickstarter launch page going up soon. So if anybody wants to support me in that way and help me get this thing out into the world, that would be absolutely amazing. But I'm really hoping that I can secure a seat at the table. And what I mean by that is there are men and women, whether they be in Congress, Senate, whatever, whoever these men and women are that making decisions for military spouses and families that have never been a military spouse. They've never walked a day in our shoes and they're making choices on assumptions. They're not asking. And if they do ask, they don't listen. So we deserve a seat at the table. And if I can have one, awesome. If I can't have one and I can nominate someone else, that's good too. Because we need someone at the table to be like, listen, Lynn, that's not how we do this. That's absolutely false. And if anybody reads my book, you'll understand. I use Linda a lot. Linda is similar to a Karen, if you will. So
Yeah.
but I like Linda. So Linda shows up again and again in my book, and she's slightly a character, but doesn't really exist, if that makes sense. Yeah, all my shenanigans are all over the internet, and I absolutely encourage everyone to go check it out. And like I said before, if you need to vent to someone, if you need to talk about something, if you need a resource, I do have those on my website. Now, they are geared more towards military families. However, I will gladly Google something for somebody if they need some help. But my resources I call them no BS resources. So I have vetted them or my friends have vetted them. They either run them or they have used them before. They're not going to take advantage of our military families. And it's anything from fertility support to moving your pets to food insecurity support, financials, any and everything. And it's all listed. They can look at it 24/7, 365. You don't have to ask permission. You don't have to log in. You can do whatever you need to do. But I definitely want people to understand that it's a safe space and they're not alone. They're not alone.
And just how transparent you speak about the experience. Because from someone who's never been a military spouse, I only see the pretty uniforms on TV and the big hugs and kisses when they come back on the boats. And, that's how it's kind of the
Sure.
idyllic
Yeah.
picture that, and I get it, it's marketing.
Mhm.
There's some things you don't want to have on the brochures. Like just don't include that. Just cut
Uh,
that part off.
uh-huh.
And so, there's something, so I love that you speak so honest about it because before I spoke with you, I did. I thought, well, their husbands can't be mean to them because they can just call their commanding officer and he'll backhand them. So you don't have to worry about domestic violence. Whether it's physical, emotional, these are perfect men. It's like having their parent in your relationship. When you're a little kid, it's like, I'm gonna call your mom. No, don't, and so yeah, I had that perception. And then I had the perception that the free healthcare, free housing, you just walked through the grocery store and filled your cart until it overflowed with whatever you wanted, and that you just dropped your kid off for free childcare while you went to the free gym. I was just like, how do I get this free ride in life? But in speaking with you, that is not the case at all.
No. I want to teach you a term because I didn't want to interrupt you. So you were talking about all the pretty videos, the hugs and the kisses and the reunifications and all the things. There's a term for that I learned not too long ago from another military spouse. That's called homecoming porn, which made me laugh so hard because it's
It's so true.
100% the media. That's the media doing that. Like they want you to see the happy moments and oh, he came back and oh, she returned and
Mhm.
surprised the kid at school. And those are absolutely amazing moments. I don't want to take that away from those families, but there's also people dealing with black mold in their house and they just keep painting over it. Like it is absolute shenanigans behind the scenes and nobody wants to talk about it. It's vastly different. And no, nothing really is free. Our healthcare is low cost, yes, but it's also under the bar of bare minimum. Like if there is such a thing, like it's under the house. It is the perception is vastly different from reality. You see those Instagram pictures where you're like, like this is me in my pretty headshot, and then the next one's like I look like a troll that's been under a bridge for 4 days. That is the that is the perfect analogy because things are on fire, constantly on fire in our life. Hopefully not all at one time, but right now, in our life, it's pretty wild. I know I seemed calm at this moment. However, if you had talked to me, I don't know, 90 minutes ago, you'd be like, this woman needs something to calm down because it's been one thing after another. And it's always that way. It feels like when your soldier is gone. And I, of course, I joke with my husband because we have to have a little bit of humor and levity in our relationship. And I'm like, this is your fault because you left. Therefore, this happened. And he knows that I'm joking. And he has nothing to do with the fact that the refrigerator doesn't want to work right. Like he has nothing to do with that. But I can still blame him because he can take it and he's fine. But your comment about I'm going to tell your mom. Sadly, that doesn't really work. There is a lot of and this is going to get dark for a second, so trigger warning for those that don't want to hear it. There's a lot of domestic violence in the military community, and that's very sad to admit and to say out loud. Thankfully, I have not been a victim of that, but there are many. Soldiers deal with PTSD. They deal with stresses that we can't understand because they've seen things that I don't even want to think about. And it definitely happens. It definitely happens. Now, there are resources for those people. We have things that for the spouses, we have ways to help them. We have ways to help the soldier as well. But it is very much a reality. I learned, and again, on the serious side, so trigger warning again, there was a statistic that I was shown an article for not long ago, and it was every 8 days, a military spouse takes their own life. And that's the face that I made. I had no idea that that was even a statistic that they were tracking. And those are only a certain amount of people. So I don't remember the way they were tracking it. Doesn't matter right now, but that's absolutely crazy to me. However, it's not shocking. It's not shocking. You come to a foreign country and you only have one car and your soldiers at work all day. Where are you going? You're only going where you can walk. You can't get out of the house. It's a lot. It's a lot. And there are way too many spouses that feel like they are completely unable to get help. And it's something that's one reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because people need to understand that there are a lot of people that are not okay. They're not okay. And we are the backbone of the military because if we don't keep the home settled and keep it going, my husband could not do what he does right now. There's no way. He could not be a father and a soldier at the same time. Like there's a cliche joke of if the military wanted a family, they would have issued you one. And that is so true because the system is not built for families. It's not. We are the side character, if you will. And it's time that we are treated like a main character because our children matter and spouses matter. That period, full stop. We matter and we deserve to matter. And that is so important to me to try to make some waves in this community and get people to listen. I don't care if I have to be the person who goes down because I open my mouth. Cool. That's fine. It's a hill I'll die on because spouses deserve it. They really do. When I started this project, my husband was like, you do know that you may get some feedback on this. And I was like, okay, let them push back. Like, I really don't care. Like, I'm not defaming anyone's character. I'm not naming names about anything. All of these things have been researched. So if someone wants to come after me, cool. Buckle up because I'm not going down without a fight. So it is.
It's so interesting when women come on and share their stories. It's the people, and I'll use that loosely. It's the people who are in those stories who are not portrayed in a positive light because they didn't act in a positive light in that story, i.e., the truth.
Yep.
They tend to feel a way about that,
Mhm. The whole
and either
accountability.
one. Yeah, they either kind of want you to not tell the story at all, or if you are going to tell the story, kind of reshape it so they don't sound quite as bad as they were. So I totally get that sentiment that you're dealing with. So, with that, what would you like to kind of leave our listeners with today, this Friday before the 4th of July?
Truthfully, there was a post that I wrote last week on social media, and it was not something that I planned for. It was not something that I was like, I'm going to go to Chat GPT and curate the best thing ever. Yes, you have those moments where you're like, I have this idea, but it doesn't work out the way you want. So you go and you try to figure it out. No, this was literally me taking my phone and going into a note and writing down all the things that I was feeling at that very second, because being a military spouse is difficult. And I don't care that I've been in this for 20 years. The fact that I just had to send my husband away again for the second time in less than a year is not easy. It's not easy at all. It never gets easier. In fact, it gets harder, exponentially harder every time. But I wrote down all my feelings, like what I was feeling, what I was dealing with in that moment. And I put it on a purple background and I posted it. 15,000 people have seen it because it's been shared and shared and shared and shared. And I will tell you exactly, I can't tell you verbatim unless you want me to look it up, but it starts with just listen, because there are too many people. And this goes to beyond military spouses. I had somebody message me that this fits for someone dealing with a child with special needs or an adult with special needs as well. It could be anyone that needs to hear this. People need to just listen. Do not invalidate someone because they've done it before. Do not invalidate their feelings. Just listen. We don't need you to have the right answer. We don't need you to do anything to fix it. I just need you to listen. Like, just stop talking and stop trying to placate people and like, oh, but you're so brave. Job. You got this. No, I don't. And that's okay. I cannot have it right now and pick it back up again later. But I encourage people to listen when people are talking and just let them talk. If you are that safe space for a military spouse, for a mom that's struggling, for whoever it is, it doesn't matter who it is. The situations are vastly different for everyone. But if you are struggling and you are that safe person for them, let them talk. Just listen. That is so important. And I had no idea that it would go absolutely crazy online. I love that. I absolutely love that, because I was like, I didn't spend any brain power on this other than venting into my notes app. So that is what I encourage people, honestly, is if you are that safe space, be that safe space and just listen.
That such simple advice, but that's always, I think, the advice that's the hardest to take is when it's stuff, because it's hard to sit there quietly and listen and not feel this just reflex to fix. We talk a lot about men being the fixers, but I think we are that with our girlfriends too. We just
100%.
want to, you're not happy at your job. Here's if it, yeah, you're not, just let me be unhappy at my job. Just let me be in this. Let me wallow in it. Just,
Yeah.
it is such a good reminder, just something so simple, just to listen. So we will drop your website and your socials in the show notes so y'all can easily find Allison online and check out her book when you have availability, and support a movement, whether you're a military spouse and you want to support Alice's movement, or to her point, you're a parent of a child with disabilities and you want to do something like that for your community. One voice can be loud enough, as Allison is showing. She's just one person. She's raising her voice loud. So we, however you are in your community, and if we need to work together, I love that, because we have learned there's a lot of overlap. So with
Yes.
that, I will leave y'all happy 4th of July and hope you're safe with your families. And we just do want to thank not only the service members, but the spouses of service members for allowing us to have this 4th of July day.
Thank you so much.